My name is Dan. I'm pumped that you're able to join us by the way of technology in Dixon City, Wilkes-Barre, Clark Summit, or online. And last week, we kicked off this new series by explaining that the phrase, chasing carrots, goes back to the day when farmers would dangle a carrot in front of a donkey just to keep it moving. I think we've all seen a cartoon picture like this one. The animal chasing after the carrot, hungry, relentlessly pursuing the satisfaction that they think the snack will bring, but it's always just out of reach. So they keep chasing it, but they never get what they're hoping for. And we do that too. We can spend our lives chasing things that we believe will satisfy us, but no matter how hard we chase them, satisfaction eludes us. And in the end of the pursuit, we're just as hungry as we were when we started. The Bible has a name for the things that we pursue because we think they will satisfy us, but leave us empty instead. They're called idols. An idol is anything that you look to or depend on to give you what only God can give. And so last week, as we started this series, Mark challenged us to consider what our carrots, what our idols, what we might be chasing, what they might be in our lives, so that we can get off of the treadmill and start chasing after real life. Now today, I want to talk about one of the most common carrots that we chase. And it's not power or prestige or pleasure. It's not affluence, accolades, or awards. No, the thing that we go to again and again and again, the thing that we sacrifice so much of our time and our energy and our money to is the idol of distraction. Distraction. Distraction is defined this way: to draw away or divert as the mind or attention, to provide a pleasant diversion for, to amuse or entertain. The root of this word comes from the Latin word that means, and this kind of gives us a little more imagery for it, a pulling apart, separating, a drawing of the mind in a different direction. Distraction is the decision between two options. Option A is the thing you're doing or could be doing, and option B is the distraction. And because you cannot be focused on two things at once, you have to choose, and so distraction diverts your attention. And because you cannot be in two places at once, distraction pulls you away. And so when I get home from work and my son wants to color with me, I have a choice to make. Distraction can pull me towards my phone, and if I choose option B, my phone, I cannot give my time and attention to option A, to my son, to the quality time that lets him know that I love him. And so distraction, it pulls you from one thing to another by drawing your focus away towards something else. And distraction is definitely a problem for us today. We are pulled from important things to far less important things all the time. And so I thought it'd be helpful at the outset of this talk to take a diagnostic test together that help you see if you have a problem personally with being distracted. So see if you answer true to any of the following questions, true or false questions, see if you answer true to them. So, true or false? Number one, I cannot leave home without my phone. Is that you? If so, you might have a distraction problem. Number two, other people complain about my use of screen time. True or false? Number three, when I get a notification, I cannot rest until I check it. True or false? Number four, I check social media even though I checked it less than 10 minutes ago. True or false? I spend time on my phone during social gatherings. 6, I find it far easier to focus on my work or homework when I don't have internet access. If you've answered true to any of those, you might have a distraction problem. Anyone else have a distraction problem? I do. Is it possible that you are distracted? And I wonder how we got to this point as a culture. I mean, today we live in an era described as the attention economy. This era is called the attention economy because of the way that companies with websites and news sites and social media platforms make their money. It's not by selling their services to you. You don't pay for Facebook or Instagram. So who foots the bill for 2.4 billion monthly active users on Facebook and the 300 million photos they post every day? It costs a lot of money to host those servers to take care of that much raw data, a lot of money. Who pays for it? Advertisers. Advertisers designing content to constantly grab your attention. One person who studies the effects of social media put it this way: we now know that many of the major social media companies hire individuals called, get this, attention engineers, who borrow principles from Las Vegas casino gambling, among other places, to try to make these products as addictive as possible. The desired use of these products is that you use it in an addictive fashion, because that maximizes the profit that can be extracted from your attention and data. That's the attention economy. We are swimming in an ocean of technology deliberately designed to steal our attention, and it's working. We are often distracted by little devices like this, our smartphones. In fact, researchers discovered that the typical smartphone user touches their phone 2,617 times a day. And you're thinking that's the high end? It's not. That's the typical user. The high end is 5,400 times a day. The typical smartphone user cannot leave their phone unattended, cannot go away from their phone for longer than 10 minutes without interacting with it. That's constant interruption, constant distraction. Our attention is divided. Our ability to focus and be productive is disrupted, and our concentration is shattered every 10 minutes. And if you're younger, we know that you spend approximately 2 hours a day on social media. 2 hours a day. And if you're younger and you spend 2 hours every day on social media and you have a very long life, you will end up spending 7 years of your life tapping, scrolling, liking, commenting, skimming, watching. 7 years. 7 years wasted. And all this attention stealing is making us shallow people. As one article put it, the loss of slowness, of time for reflection and contemplation, the loss of privacy and solitude, of silence, of the ability to sit quietly in a chair for 15 minutes without external stimulation. The loss of all that happened quickly and almost invisibly. At this point, you might be wondering if I hate technology. I don't hate technology. I love it. I'm a gadget guy. I love technology, but I love you enough to ask you this tough question. Is it possible that things have gotten a little out of control in your life? Is it possible that the gift of technology is what history would call a white elephant gift? Gordon MacDonald shares the following story. He wrote, in ancient days, when the king of Siam had an enemy he wanted to torment and destroy, he would send that enemy a unique gift, a white elephant, a live albino elephant. These animals were considered sacred in the culture of that day. So the recipient of that elephant had no choice but to intentionally care for the gift. This elephant would take an inordinate amount of the enemy's time and resources, energy, emotions, and finances, and over time, the enemy would destroy himself because of the extremely burdensome process of caring for the gift. Technology might just be that sacred gift that we cannot kill, so it's slowly killing our ability to think deeply and focus clearly on what is important. And hear me out, I am not advocating that you get rid of your phone. Phones are just the clearest example of how distracted we can be. If it wasn't the phone, it would be something else. The question is not, are we distracted as a culture? We are. The question is, why are we turning so often to distraction? I think the mathematician and thinker Blaise Pascal had it right when he said, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. As a culture, we run to distraction to escape all forms of discomfort. Distraction allows us to edit out the boring or painful parts of our existence, to skim over them without dealing with them. And so I'm a visual guy, and so I imagine it a little bit like this. We all go through regular days of our lives, and we experience different emotions. And in each one of these dips is kind of an uncomfortable emotion, something we might not want to feel, like being bored, or a little bit later in the day feeling some discomfort, or someone asks you a question and there's some uncertainty, or maybe something happens and you feel a little embarrassed about it, or maybe things aren't panning out the way you hoped the day would go, and so you feel some disappointment. I'm not talking about the extremes of these emotions. I'm just talking about the normal, everyday experiences that we have, the ups and the downs, the low points like this. But with technology to distract us, instead of experiencing those lows, we quickly turn them into distraction moments. And so we edit out all the low moments of our days, stuffing in social media and stuffing in sports articles and angry, outraged news and entertainment and a YouTube video and like another YouTube video and another YouTube video. Our emotions are messengers trying to tell us something, but we've stuffed them so we can't hear them. And they're supposed to teach us things about ourselves. They're supposed to help us grow up. But when we quickly run to distractions, we never deal with those emotions. And so what do you call someone who has no self-awareness, self-control, and has never learned to deal with their emotions? That's right, a toddler. And when we live like this, we are emotionally stunted and we have not developed the skills to cope with life's ups and downs. How many of you have been in a situation where you didn't know everyone around you very well, and so you pulled out your phone to hide? Minimal awkwardness makes you run to your distraction. We're not learning to grow up if we're not learning to deal with these things. And we can waste our lives on these distractions a minute at a time. As the author Annie Dillard wisely pointed out, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. See, what we do with our minutes make up our lives. And if we live every day distracted, when we lead distracted lives, we will waste our lives on tapping and scrolling and skimming and posting and watching and not really living. And so if we have a distraction problem, and it's making us shallow and unfocused, and distraction makes us waste our lives, what do we do with distraction? I want to share with you from a part in the early portion of the Bible in a book called Joshua. And these 9 verses from Joshua chapter 1 will help us navigate the pitfalls of living in the age of distraction. Let's start in the story here in verse 1. It says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give to them, to the Israelites. It's your turn, Joshua. Now, Moses had led the children of Israel for 4 decades. He had led them out of Egypt. You probably saw the movie. And then through the wilderness to the edge of the promised land. And during some of that time, Joshua had been Moses' assistant or aide. But now Moses has died, and the people are camped out on the western side of the Jordan River, that natural boundary blocking the entrance into the abundant land that God had promised his people. And so God turns to Joshua and he says, you're the new Moses. In verse 6, God says to Joshua, you will lead these people to inherit the land that I swore to their ancestors to give them. This was God's unique mission for Joshua's life. And it's a staggering calling. It's a huge task. In fact, it's a job too big for any one man to accomplish. It's a God-sized mission. And this is just how God likes to work. He likes to take limited, frail, and even fragile human beings and do unlimited, powerful, and eternal things through them. He wants to do something specific and supernatural through your life as well. His plan is for you to do tasks that he has given you. And if that doesn't intimidate you, you're not listening to what I am saying. The God of the universe designed you, placed you in this time and in this place during this age in history with all of your unique gifting, opportunities, setbacks, weaknesses, interests, and skills for a reason, for a God-sized mission that is unique to you. Unless you think I'm laying it on a little bit thick here. As I read through Psalm 139, 13 through 16, see if you can't see all the words that the writer uses to paint a picture of how God uniquely and custom designed all of us. It says, for you created my inmost being, God. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. You might have been a surprise to your parents, but you were not a surprise to God. You were handcrafted for a specific purpose, to glorify God by doing what he made you to do. Like Joshua, you have been given a unique mission. Maybe for some of you, you are their dad. Only you have that role. Only you can do that. You were called to love and lead that child. Maybe you're their mom, and only you can do that. And you've uniquely been given that mission. Maybe you're the son or the daughter. That's only you. Only you have that. Maybe you are their neighbor right now, not forever, for this time, for this purpose. Maybe you work for him or for her for a purpose. Maybe you're sitting at a desk next to them for a reason. Maybe they are your server and your cashier or your drive-through worker for a reason. Maybe that crazy family member, yes, them, and they're there. Okay, maybe someone is an accident. Maybe there is just for your family, okay? One surprise. And if suddenly you're feeling like I can't live up to all that, my guess is that Joshua felt the same way. Because look at what God said next to him in verse 3. It says, Joshua, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Question: when do you tell someone to be strong and courageous? Answer: when fear and uncertainty could sap their strength and paralyze them. So God gives Joshua these promises to go along with this purpose. He has a mission for his life, but he gives him the power to fulfill it through these promises. Again and again, God calls Joshua to be courageous based on these promises. In verse 2, God gives the promise. In verse 3, he restates it. In verse 4, God gives the details of the promise. In verse 5, he expands the promise. In verse 6, he reiterates the promise again. Why? Because God's promises give us courage to fulfill our purpose. The "as I was with Moses, so I will be with you" is a stunning and massive promise for Joshua. See, Moses had been undeniably and powerfully used by God right in front of Joshua for decades. And God had lifted up Moses as a religious, domestic, judicial, military, and civic leader. And so when Moses was the leader, God had come through again and again with wisdom, direction, provision, protection, healing, help. And Joshua had seen it all. So for God to say to him, just like that, just like I was with Moses, I'll be with you, meant so much to Joshua. It meant that God had his back no matter what. And if God has your back, then you're covered. So based on that promise, God encourages Joshua, even though the task looks overwhelming and it's way too big for him to handle, to be strong and courageous. Do you know that there are promises in God's word for you too? To give you courage to fulfill your purpose? Promises like Isaiah 41:10 that says to the fearful, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Surely I will help you. Surely I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Promises like 1 John 1:9 that assure to those weighed down by their past sins that if we confess our sins, he is faithful and righteous to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Or when someone's against you, you can draw courage from Romans 8:31, where it says, if God is for us, who can be against us? And on it goes, lighting a fire of faith inside of us, giving us courage. And so we have purpose, a mission, and we have promises, these things that God has given us to hold on to motivate us and to see us through. But notice the warning God now gives Joshua starting in verse 7. He says, be strong and very courageous, be careful to obey all the laws my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you'll be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Now, wait a second. Did you guys catch that? Did God just repeat himself, say the same thing twice? I mean, we know that God doesn't ramble. We know he doesn't stutter. He just knows how distracted we could be. And so he goes out of his way to reiterate or make something clear to Joshua. And so Bible study tip of the week, when you see something that is repeated in a passage, take note. Treat it like it's bolded or underlined. The repetition is to alert you to its importance. So what is repeated here and why? See, in essence, God says twice in two different ways to stay focused on the truth to be successful in your mission. He's saying, don't get distracted, Joshua, because saying yes to distraction is saying no to your mission. Saying yes to distraction is saying no to your mission. You see, the enemy doesn't have to destroy you if he can simply distract you. The yes to your phone is a no to your relationships. The yes to more busyness is a no to your neighbor. The yes to more entertainment is a no to your soul. Saying yes to distraction is saying no to your mission. You will never accomplish your mission if you don't combat distraction. You were made for more. You were created for a task. Your current circumstances are the platform for God to do something through you that has eternal impact. It might not be flashy, but it will be meaningful. You will never accomplish your mission if you don't combat distraction. And how? How is God pointing to that here? He says, by getting focused on what? On truth. So God tells Joshua, and he tells us, keep the book of the law always on your lips, meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Well, the book of the law was just the Bible up to that point in history. So for us, it would be, know the Bible inside and out. Feed your soul with it, memorize it, spend time in it, think on it. Don't let it ever be far from your thoughts. Focus on the truth. And notice that focusing on God's word and his promises does things in our lives. First, focus changes your feelings. See, God makes promises. Here's what I'm going to do, Joshua. And then he assures Joshua of his presence, and I'll be with you. He says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. See, he expects this truth to change Joshua's emotions, his feelings. When Joshua is feeling overwhelmed, remembering this truth, focusing in on this truth will keep him from being discouraged. And when Joshua is afraid, focusing on this truth will make him bold and not afraid. It will make him courageous. See, when you focus on truth, it changes your feelings. And this is true when you even use social media. One study released last month found that teenagers who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media are more likely to develop health problems, including mental health ones like depression, anxiety, aggression, and antisocial behavior, Because when you focus on what you don't have, and that's what social media shows us, right? We become bummed out. We compare their highlight reel with our behind the scenes junk. We're not as good looking, our vacations aren't as glamorous, our houses aren't as nice, our relationships aren't as wonderful, we're going nowhere while everyone else seems to move ahead, and that's discouraging. But that's not just true with social media, it's true in life. What you focus on changes your feelings. Neuroscience and our own experience teaches us that if you spend time focusing each day on something that you're grateful for, you will become a happier person. What you focus on changes your feelings. And so on the count of 3, I think we need to practice this all together. I want you to tell someone nearby one thing that you're grateful for. Let's do this everywhere, even if you're watching online. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What are you grateful for? See, don't you feel better already? It works. Focus changes our feelings, but it also changes our fuel, our energy. Focus changes your fuel. Look at verse 9 again with these 2 words that stick out. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Strong and courageous. Be resolved, be proactive, be strong. Go after this with all you've got. Fulfill your mission, Joshua. And I don't think I'm the only one who sometimes just feels worn out. I don't have the energy to do what I need to do and pursue my purpose. But when you focus on your calling and the one who has called you, you can't help but get fired up. He says, who has commanded you? He's like reminding you, me. Hasn't it been me? He says, focus on me. Have I not commanded you? I'm God. You see, your God is too big, his plans too perfect, his promises too powerful, your part is too important, and the eternal destination of people far from God too significant for you to waste your life. And that gets you fired up. I'll say it again, like if your God is too big, his plans are too perfect, his promises too powerful, your part too significant in the eternal destination of other people who are far from God, too significant for you to waste your life. So be strong and courageous. See, vision eats distraction for breakfast. And when you understand your calling, when you understand what you've been hardwired for, why you've been placed in this circumstance, in this time, and in this place, when you realize why God put you there, and you lean into it, and you live into it, and you see what God is doing, even if it's gonna take a while, it gets you some energy, it gets you fired up, it gives you some fuel. See, focus changes your fuel. It fills you up. Focus also changes your future. I don't know if you caught it, it's repeated multiple times throughout. But along with fulfill your purpose and don't get distracted is this promise, that you may be successful wherever you go. Verse 7. Repeatedly, God promises success to Joshua if he will stay focused on his mission. And we've said it before around here that your life will always go in the direction of your strongest thoughts. And if you'll focus today, you will see the fruit of it tomorrow. If you will make your decision based on your mission, you'll choose better again and again. And those choices that you choose based not on what's convenient or what takes away a negative feeling, when you choose not based on distraction but based on your mission, it clarifies your life and moves you in the right direction towards a better future. And as a result, you will see God use you in the lives of others. See, saying yes to distraction is saying no to your mission. So practically, what does it mean this afternoon and this week? Well, I want to teach you to leverage the 2 most powerful words in the English language to help us with distraction. And if you use these 2 words, it will help you move away from distraction and onto your mission, away from wasting your life and onto a life that makes a difference. And the first word is the word no. No. N-O, with a period, because it's like a complete sentence. You see, when a distraction comes, even a good one, if it's something that will take you off mission, your response is to say, no, no. My God is too big. His promises too powerful. His plan's too perfect, my part too significant for me to not help people who are far from God find the way back to him. I will not waste my life. No. And you're not saying no because you don't care. You're saying no because you care about what you've been called by God to do. And so I want to help us all learn how to do this. I want to teach you how to do this. So you take your head to do this. You take your head and you tilt it to the side, and then you bring it back to the center. You tilt to the side, bring it back to the center, and then you say, no, no, no. That's how it works. All right, so take your head, tilt it to the side, everyone. Bring it back to the center, no. Side, center, no. All right, so I want us to get in the practice of this. So when I point to you, I want you to say no. Ready? No, you're not ready? Or like, oh no, I got it, okay. So, will you head up the PTA this year if it's not on mission? The answer is no. Very good. Will you ignore the people around you and check notifications every time they go off? No. Will you take this promotion that will give you a lot of money but will keep you away from your family a lot? No. Will you go to another birthday party even though you're stressed, worn out, and you're running on fumes and not taking care of your own soul? No. Will your son or daughter be involved in sports all the time if it keeps them from church all the time? No. Will you help serve in the kids ministry here at church? Yes! I am so proud of you. Way to go. Not you, Wilkes-Barre, but DC. Good job. All right. That's the right answer. So you get it. You answer not based on your feelings or what other people are doing, but based on your calling, based on your mission. Now, the second word that you need to zero in on is this word. It's yes. Yes. It's all one sentence. There's a period there. It's all you need to say. And the example I mentioned earlier about my son is true. He asks me to color with him. He's an artist. He does stuff every day, draws stuff every day, and he wants me to color with him. And I started to realize that my default answer to my son was no or not right now. Now, my mentor, he shared something with me that has changed that for me, and I want to share that with you. He told me that there was a time in his parenting life when he realized that the majority of his answers to his kids was no. And after stepping back, he realized that he didn't want that to be how they grew up. And so he committed to giving the default answer of yes as much as he could. And so, can we play? He would say yes. Can I have a piggyback ride? Yes. Can we dance? Yes. Can I date this guy? No. So you just try to do it as much as possible. And so that's what I'm endeavoring to do with my kids. Can we color? Yes. Can we color? Yes. And so we've colored 2 out of the 3 days, and I will when I go home. I see a lot more of this coloring in my future because I'm saying yes. And I see myself accomplishing a lot more of my mission to be a good dad because I'm saying yes. When you say no to distraction, you can say yes to your mission. So let's try this one together. Here's how this one works. You tilt your head up and bring it back down, and then you say yes. Ready? Up, down, yes. 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 All right. So everyone together help us out, but I'm going to talk to some specific groups, but just let everybody do it. Let's get the energy going. So singles. Some of you are dating a distraction. Sorry, I said it. All right. You are. You're dating a distraction. Will you stop dating them so that you can stay on mission? Yes. You didn't know. Will you stop dating them so you can stay on mission? Yes. Couples, will you turn off your screens for 10 minutes each night so that you can talk face to face with your spouse? Yes. Families, will you as a family make the soccer field your mission field and actively work to leverage sports to help people find the way back to God? Yes. Will you give up that hobby so that you can be a better daddy or mommy? Everyone, will you sacrifice to provide a meal for someone in need? Yes. Should Mark dye his hair orange like a carrot for the rest of the series? Yes. You heard that, all right? You got it. Use these 2 most powerful words in the English language to stay on mission to what you know God has called you to do. Saying yes to a distraction is saying no to your mission. And you got way more important things that God has for you to be about, to be stuck on your phone or distracted by a screen or giving your life up to a hobby completely. And so as we conclude, I just want to give us one way to really practically put this yes, no into practice this week. And I call it just cracking the door open for God. And this has helped me tremendously. This is very practical. Here's what I'm suggesting. Delay the distraction long enough to give God an in. Delay the distraction long enough to let God in. It's putting God first. It's keeping the door open. And it works like this. I jump into my car, and instead of putting on a podcast or some great music, I decide I'm just going to start in silence. Maybe I'll get to the podcast. Maybe I'll get to the music, but I'm going to start with silence, and maybe I'll start praying, and I let God in. I crack the door open for God to show up. For you, it might be with your phone. It might be when you first get home. It might be before a busy day, before you dive in. I don't know what it is, but try it this week. In a small act of faith, invite God into the everyday moments of your life. Crack the door open and see what happens.